Building trust is critical to every great organization. But it's not about grand plans. It is about consistent, everyday execution. Today, we're talking to Mark Norman, a leadership expert at the Schulich Executive Education Centre, about how to build trust in an organization.
Let's talk a bit about what kills trust. I'll tell you a little story. I'm in an auto assembly plant, and I'm watching a frontline staff person talk to a supervisor about an ergonomic issue. And as the frontline supervisor is listening to the frontline operator, at a certain point the frontline supervisor just raises his hands and says, "Just get back to work, I'll talk to you another time." At that point, I watched the frontline operator look up at a banner on the wall saying, "People are our number one resource," looking back at the supervisor, then walking back to their workspace. Imagine what's going through that frontline worker's mind at that point. Think about that, how that affects trust. Another thing that affects trust is when, as managers or leaders, we go into not giving feedback to people. When I don't hear from you as a leader about how I'm doing, good or bad, particularly if I don't get support in the good things that I'm doing, I have to imagine in my own mind how I'm doing. That leads me to feel unsafe, and it leads to deplete trust. I'd say the third big thing is when I'm walking around looking at the organization and the message to me as a human being is that I'm a resource. I'm a person. I'm bringing myself to the table to work with you. When you treat me like an object, when the messaging is about me as an object, it has an impact on trust. I'd say those are three pretty big things that affect trust in organizations. How we demonstrate care to people in the workplace is actually by stopping and really listening to them. It's about how we ask questions. It's about the moment that we take to go the extra mile to figure out how an idea could be extended. As an example, if you came to me and gave me an idea and I picked up that there might be a concern for finances with it, I could look at you and say, that won't work for finances. Or I could look at you and say, how could you take that idea and help it work for finances? Totally different impact. It's not about delving into people's personal lives, it's about being there in the moment with them, being able to hear them, being able to ask questions, to push their thinking a bit forward. To be able to recognize when they need direction, when they need you to step up and say, here's what you're going to do. When you recognize when they need that word of encouragement versus just letting it slip. It's when you stop by and mention how helpful the choice they made has been to the organization. It's about seizing all those small opportunities that are there on a daily basis. I think that if we can do that, it helps people feel settled. They don't need us as leaders to be therapists. They just need us to pay attention. And we can do that pretty simply on a day-to-day basis. Leaders recognize where the power points are in their culture, where there is life, where there is energy, where there's focus, where there's trust. Really understand those elements, become the students of what is working, what is bringing life into the organization, what is bringing life into the working relationships, and understanding how to become multipliers of those quote-unquote points of life. I was talking with a group last week, and we looked through a series of very simple questions that managers can deal with on a day-to-day basis in simple conversations with their staff. And when we looked at them, the managers were reacting in the following way. They're saying, we don't have time to do this. And in essence, by not doing it, the managers were actually sending out very, very clear messages to their staff. And the message was, to this organization, you don't matter. We don't see how competent you are, and you can't influence us. And as soon as workers are getting that message from their managers by lack of paying attention, there's a lot of energy that drifts out, that saps out or seeps out of organizations. And what I do see also is that in that busyness, managers tend to count on the broad structural initiatives to take care of the issue of engagement rather than seeing it as driven by the day-to-day relationships and the day-to-day conversations between staff and between managers and staff. we're all trying to satisfy three fundamental questions. That is, do I matter? Am I viewed as competent? Can I influence anything that's going on around me? And when the feedback that we're getting from people around us are negative answers to those questions, then what we do is we hide, or we start fighting to prove to people that we do matter, that we are competent, we can influence something. What I would say to managers is that part of our fundamental job is to interact with our staff in a way that consistently reflects back to them that to us they matter.